be very quiet. We're hunting value early on PrizePicks. Guys, my name is CJ Curry. Thank you so much for joining me for this early release video, this first look video at the PrizePicks board. I got 3 different picks that we're going to be taking a look at today, and I'm going to drop those for you in just a moment. But before I do, guys, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure you smash that like button and definitely ring that bell. If you haven't done those 3 things yet, we can't move forward with this video. Listen, I'm going to wait. All right, did you get it done? Hopefully you did. It's important that you're subscribed, that you like, and you turn those notifications on. Let me show you why, because yesterday's video, I don't think enough of you saw yesterday's video and what we did. Yesterday, I ended up putting out 3 different picks. We talked about 3 picks in yesterday's video, and here's what ended up happening here. We discussed the Joel Embiid taco in great depth. I went to great lengths showing you why it looked like a good play. Well, he did end up going over the 25.5 point line. So anybody that had concerns or worries about the Joel Embiid taco, hopefully you didn't feel worried after you watched my video and how I explained why it was a good play. The other pick that we had here was Bruce Brown going over 2.5 assists. Now, I'll be the first to admit, this pick was a little sweaty. It took him till like the last minute or 2 of the game to finally reach the over on that 2.5 number on the assist, but he ended up coming through for us. And then the third and final pick, I know my camera's kind of in the way here. Let me see if I can hide myself. OG Anunoby over 1.5 turnovers. I told you guys, the Orlando Magic, we've got some dogs on the team. And defensively, we're one of the best, if not the best, defensive units in all of basketball. And so OG Anunoby over 1.5 turnovers looked very good. And if you watched that game at all, you saw a ton of other Toronto Raptors turning the ball over left and right. I think that's going to be a theme going forward with OG Anunoby and these Toronto Raptors when they go against a squad like the Orlando Magic. They're just going to turn the ball over. So play turnovers for the over on teams that are going up against the Orlando Magic. Anyway, we had ourselves a pretty nice night. On top of this, I also hit a couple of 2-pick power plays. We took Pascal Siakam for less on his 28.5 points and rebounds and his 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists for that same reason, because he was going up against a tough Orlando Magic team, and the Magic ended up blowing him out and showing why their defense is good. And then on top of that one, we had Evan Mobley going over 25.5 points and rebounds. This one ended up hitting for us as well. So a couple of different picks that I posted for Dub Club members. So guys, if you're not in the Dub Club and you want to join, it's pretty easy peasy for you guys to get into the Dub Club. I mean, I've got over 330 members that are active in the Dub Club. So I think you guys should get in there. I've left a link. I'll leave it pinned to the comment section of today's video, but you should absolutely give the Dub Club a look if you haven't yet. Like I said, 67 cents per day. It pays for itself. All you have to do is win one $10 2-pick power play over the course of an entire month, and then the Dub Club pays for itself. But enough of that. Let's get into today's prize picks. As I mentioned, I've got 3 different picks lined up for you. All of these looking pretty nice, and they all have interesting storylines behind them. So let's take a look at these real quick. First of all, we got Drew Holiday of the Boston Celtics. He's going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, that is his former team. No longer with the Bucks because the Bucks kind of shipped him out, and they brought in Damian Lillard. Dame Dollar is now your point guard for the Milwaukee Bucks, and Drew Holiday found himself a nice landing spot with the Boston Celtics. Here's what I'll tell you. Boston's been beat up lately. We know Jaylen Brown isn't 100%. He was on the injury list last time that they played. Same with Kristaps Porzingis. He was seen limping off the floor just 2 games ago in the 4th quarter. And so they kind of had to lean on Jason Tatum in that last game. For a number of different reasons, I like Drew Holiday at 13.5 points. For one, when we go and take a look at where he's at on the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer, if we just punch his name in here, you'll see that his points line is at 13.5 on PrizePicks. He's got about a 52.5% chance of going over at 13.5. But you're already starting to see some sports books offering Drew Holiday's points at 14.5. In fact, a majority of them have him at 14.5. And I think it's just a matter of time before you see him get bumped from 13.5 up to either 14 or all the way up to 14.5. I feel like this number is just a little bit too low, especially given this matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks, who are just bleeding points to the point guard position. When you ship Drew Holiday out and you exchange defense for offense, basically, here's what you get. The last 7 games, the Milwaukee Bucks are giving up over 27 points per game to opposing point guards. That is the 5th highest point per game average to the point guard position over that 7-game span. So yes, they are giving up quite a few points to opposing point guards, which obviously would benefit Drew Holiday as he is the starting point guard for the Boston Celtics. Now, to kind of round this pick out here, I just kind of want to show you some projections. These are early projections provided by RotoWire and NumberFire in this case. We're going to just simply punch in Drew Holiday's name. And when we do that, guys, you're seeing a projection for his points all the way up at 18.2. The line's 13.5 right now. You want to talk about getting in on some early value. That's why I wanted to go ahead and make this video now and get it out there to the masses, because 13.5 is the line, 18.2 is the projection. That's almost a 5-point difference. Now, I always like to check more than one projection. So I went over to NumberFire and I wanted to see, what was their early projection on Drew Holiday's points. And they got him all the way up at 17.4, which is still about 4 points higher than his line of 13.5. So I think Drew Holiday makes for a fine play. 13.5 points is probably going to end up being 14.5 points at some point. So I think that you should be thinking about taking the more on Drew Holiday in this case. Now, obviously, that is one interesting storyline. Drew Holiday going up against his former team, the Milwaukee Bucks. What about this next guy, Dillon Brooks? I know. Listen, I know. It's Dillon Brooks. And not everybody out there likes Dillon Brooks. And not everybody out there trusts Dillon Brooks. But hear me out. He's going up against the Memphis Grizzlies, the team that he played for last season. They kind of had a rocky breakup, we'll say. He did not leave on the best of terms. And, if anybody likes to grind and axe, if anybody is petty, it's probably Dillon Brooks. So he's at 10.5 points right now. So let's slide back over to the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer real quick. We'll simply just plug in Dillon Brooks' name. And why I love this tool is because it allows us to see the value on some of these lines. And kind of like Drew Holiday, you're seeing Dillon Brooks at 10.5 points on some sites, but 11.5 points on some of these other books, which I think is where he's going to end up when it's all said and done. When the dust settles, I think Dillon Brooks is going to get bumped up from 10.5 to maybe 11 or 11.5. Taking a look at some of the game logs here for Dillon Brooks, he's actually not done a bad job since joining the Houston Rockets in covering 10.5 points. If you look at his game logs this season, he's 7 for 12. That's 58% hit rate. Now, you take a look at some of the teams recently that he's put up big scoring nights on. Obviously, he and LeBron James have kind of went back and forth in the past. He put up 24 points against the Lakers recently after going through this little 5-game rough patch, we'll call it. And then he had 16 points in his last game. That was against the Golden State Warriors. Obviously, him and Draymond Green, I think, had a little bit of a issue or a little bit of beef in the past as well. So you kind of see Dillon Brooks, a petty player. He's definitely got this game circled on his calendar. And I'm sure he's looking forward to playing against his former team, the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, as far as the matchup goes, I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies aren't necessarily a great defensive team. They're going to be without Marcus Smart. We know that. And then on top of that, Ja Morant is out. I mean, so they have their list of injuries. No Steven Adams there. So if you take a look at the small forward position over the last 7 games and you look at the Memphis Grizzlies, you scroll down just a little bit, they're kind of just a middle of the pack team as far as points allowed per game to the small forward position. So is it a plus matchup? Not really. Is it a minus matchup or negative matchup? Not really. It's kind of a neutral matchup, just sort of an average defense over the last 7 games when it comes to guarding small forwards in the point category. So now that we know that hit rates are pretty good for Dillon Brooks, we know that the matchup's not a bad one, and we know that there's obviously some history between Dillon Brooks and the Memphis Grizzlies. Let's take a look at some of the numbers here, some of the projections. We already know it's a plus EV play, and we're already seeing him at 11.5 points on some books. Here's a projection for him at 12.52 points. This one provided by RotoWire. So RotoWire's got him 2 points higher than his line is currently sitting at 10.5 here on PrizePicks. And then over on Number Fire, if we take a look there, we just type in Dillon Brooks' name. They've got him all the way up at 13.5 points tonight, guys. So I think these projections, 12.5 to 13.5 points, are going to probably influence some of the sports bettors out there who are betting on these sports books. And so the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer will kind of look at those sports books, and it will start to raise Dillon Brooks to the top of the optimizer chart here before too long. And so PrizePicks will probably adjust Dillon Brooks because he'll be a popular play on the optimizer. That's usually how the series of events happens. So for me, I think Dillon Brooks makes for an interesting play for more than 10.5 points. Now, on to this last one here, continuing with the trend, the theme of interesting narratives and storylines. How about Domantas Sabonis? He was born here in America, in Portland, Oregon. His father, Arvydas Sabonis, who is Lithuanian, played for the Portland Trail Blazers, okay? But I bring that up because Sabonis does have that Lithuanian bloodline. Well, he's not the only one that has a Lithuanian bloodline. The guy that he's going to be going against tomorrow, or today, the New Orleans Pelicans center, Jonas Valanciunas, is also of Lithuanian descent. Now we're going to play a little game called Never Have I Ever. Now, I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about Domantas Sabonis, whose point line is at 20.5 points. Never has he ever scored more than 20 points against Jonas Valanciunas in his career. And it's not a small sample size. It is actually a pretty significant sample size. I mean, we take a look at just the games here of recent memory. 10 points they just played 2 days ago. He only had 10 points against Valanciunas in that game. 16 as a member of the Kings going up against Sabonis, or going up against Valanciunas as a member of the Pelicans. 19, again, Sabonis on the Kings, Valanciunas on the Pelicans, and 15. So he's 0 for 4 since joining the Kings. Well, he's 0 for his lifetime against Valanciunas overall. We go back to some of these other games. This is when he was with the Pacers, but 20 points, 18 points, 13, 8, 6, 13. And then all the way back when he was with the Oklahoma City Thunder as a young man, 8 points. So Sabonis, for whatever reason, maybe it's a Lithuanian thing. I don't know what's going on. He's never scored 21 or more points against Joe Val in his career. So he's at 20.5 points. He would need 21. It would be the first time he's ever scored 21 or more against Valanciunas. Now, taking a look at where he's at, now that we got kind of the storyline out of the way, Sabonis's points are at 20.5. Right now, he's a 52% betting favorite to go under 20.5 points. You got a 52% chance of Sabonis staying under 20.5 points. So again, has never scored 21 in his life against Joe Val before. So taking a look at some of the projections here, now that we kind of have some facts, some interesting figures out there about Sabonis, we're going to look at his points projections. This first projection has him at 18.7 points. That's almost 2 whole points lower than his line at 20.5. That is RotoWire providing that projection. And another early projection for Sabonis has him all the way down at 17.5 points. Almost 3 points lower than his line of 20.5. So I think these 3 picks are really interesting. They also have some really intriguing storylines behind them. You got Drew Holiday versus his former team, the Milwaukee Bucks. You got Dillon Brooks versus his former team in the Memphis Grizzlies. And then you got Domantas Sabonis against fellow Lithuanian Jonas Valanciunas. So we'll see what happens, but these are your early look picks over on PrizePicks. Again, if you're not playing on PrizePicks yet, make that first deposit. Use code Curry. You're going to get a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, which makes your first entry on PrizePicks completely risk-free. So there you have it. Take them if you like them. If you don't like them, leave them alone. I'll take them, just like I took the 3 from yesterday's video, and we ended up cashing out, turning that 3-pick power play into 5 times our money, 25 into $125. So if you like what I'm doing here, hit the subscribe button, like, and ring that bell, turn on all notifications. I'm dropping videos each and every day. Good luck, and we'll see you later on this afternoon. Dub Club members, picks will be coming later this evening. Peace.